It's night talk. It's night talk. We got another episode of Night Talk. Here we go. Welcome everyone. We've got a yet another episode of Night Talk. Today we're going to be chatting with photographer, author, and national parks explorer Jacob W. Frank. I'm your host Gabriel Biederman from National Parks at Night. Come on in, grab a seat. We've got a very night landscape centric conversation for you today. But before we get started, let me ask you all, who's hibernating right now? Who's not going out maybe so much? It's cold out there. I know in New York, we're barely going to get above, we're not going to hit 30 for the next week. So drop in the chat where you are streaming in from and how cold is it out there. And for those of you with the really warm temperatures, maybe keep that to a minimal. But as we are prone to hibernating during the winter seasons, perhaps you want to get inspired and educate yourself. We've got a couple solutions for you. We've got the Night Photo Summit, which is the must-attend winter virtual conference. All things night photography is back for its 6th year. We'll be streaming to you February 13th to the 15th. And it is, again, 3 days of inspiration, education, and networking that feature 40 presenters, over 45 hours of content and access that you get not just that weekend, but for 1 year after. You can learn more and purchase your ticket at nightphotosummit.com. If you prefer learning in person, testing maybe telescopes at star parties and photographing under Bortle 1 to 3 skies, then we've got the conference for you. It's Nightscaper Photo Conference, and that's going to be in May 14th to the 17th, and that is in the dark sky region of the Four Corners. We're going to be based in Farmington, New Mexico. You can learn more about that at nightscaper.com. All right, let's see where we got. Let's see, National Park Patch Ladies here. Hello, I know where you're streaming in from. Steve, good to see you. A couple nights in a row. Justin, good to see you. I know where you are. Capricorn girl, good to see you. It's cold, Steve. Oceanside, Long Island, right on. Katrina Janin, yes, Boston, 20 inches of snow. Oh man, I saw my sister lives up in New Hampshire, and I saw her digging out of all that. It's been insane. I mean, we got, I think, at least 14 to 18 inches here in New York City. And but we're now 2 days through, we're barreling through. These cities are strong. They go through it. They go through it all. Brady is in San Jose, and unfortunately it's 60 degrees there. Boo. So, and then Margie, yes, I know. Yeah, Margie, good to see you too. All right, Charlie, you might be winning. East Lansing, -9 degrees right now. I've been seeing some of those frozen lighthouses out there. So crazy. So, all right. Well, welcome everyone. And let's see. Yes, our special guest today on Night Talk is Jake Frank, who since 2008 has explored America's public lands by foot, boat, bike, ski, dog sled, and air. Always a camera in hand. Jake's photography has been widely published in books, magazines, and national news outlets. His work was also featured in two major Smithsonian National Museums, in two major Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History exhibits. One, The Wilderness Forever, 50 Years of Protecting America's Wild Places, and 100 Years of America's National Park Service, Preserve, Enjoy, and Inspire. So let's give a warm welcome to Jacob W. Frank. Welcome to Night Talk, Jake.
How's it going?
Good. Where are you? How cold is it, and where are you streaming in from?
I'm in southwest Montana, and it's not very cold. It's pretty depressing. This winter has just not shown up. Last week it got down to like -5, We did
Okay.
some skiing, but it was like 35 today, and Christmas. This is the first Christmas I've had here in 10 years where there wasn't snow on the ground.
No snow.
No snow.
And is there any snow right now?
Like maybe if you like, there's maybe some ice in places like where the trees are shading things, but if the sun's hitting the ground, there's not much snow. Yeah, it's pretty sad for people who enjoy the winter, like myself and my wife included, and especially our dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just doing what we can, trying to get out when we can, and I mean the benefit is that if and when there's like an aurora storm or something, like normally you're having to bundle up and you're
Yeah.
freezing
Yeah.
cold, but it's like you could probably just be in a t-shirt, I suppose.
I mean, is this warm winter gonna make you consider like trimming the beard a little? I mean, do you?
I don't think so. This
No.
is my wife doesn't allow me because
Oh,
I'm younger than my wife,
okay.
and so when I shave my beard, I look I have a baby face essentially. So my wife is like, no, keep the beard. So standard issue. I have what's called in the winter time it gets terminal beard velocity. If it gets too long when you're trying to zip your jacket up, that's when it needs to get
That's
trimmed down a
yep,
little bit.
yep. I want to see some good ice beard shots too. Yeah.
I
Hopefully
do
later.
have I do have one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took one of those a long time ago. It's in a Nat Geo book that is like my
Nice.
whole face is all covered in ice. It was like -35 and we went skiing and I turned into like the Yeti. Yeah.
Exactly. National Park Patch Lady is saying, "Huzzah, Jake! So excited about this chat. Hashtag protect our national parks." So, what?
I love
How about
that.
the night skies? How are they treating you out there? Have you seen the aurora yet this year, this winter? Has it been kind of clear-ish?
So where we're at specifically, like Gardner, Montana's kind of in a hole. So you have like a lot of the storms that hit us around. It seems like the night sky here has the potential to be beautiful. Like obviously there's not a lot going on in Yellowstone, and all the lighting that is in Yellowstone is all kind of designed to point down. And so
Yep.
there's a lot of really unique opportunities to get into the park and take pictures. But the weather doesn't always cooperate like it does, say, like if you're in the Colorado Plateau or if you're
Yeah.
in like Fairbanks, where you're like it's just open and clear and you have like a really beautiful view to the sky.
Yep.
The other thing that with Aurora, and I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon, but when you have lived in Alaska and you've seen Aurora at like northern latitudes,
Hmm.
seeing them down here I mean, it's cool. Like it's cool to go outside and I go out and I view them and I go,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. And then I go back inside because it's like, I have a friend who just moved to Alaska and she'd never seen the Aurora. Like she's in Fairbanks right now. And this last storm that came through, she was like showing me the videos that she took with her phone. And I was like, okay, so was I overselling it? And she's like, no, it is like so amazing to see it up there. So yes, like I try to get outside. The benefit of being this far south is that you get a better view of like the galactic core of the Milky Way, versus like Aurora. So there's like, give and take and those kinds of things. But generally speaking, there's a lot of really good dark sky, especially if like when you're getting into the backcountry and stuff. Like if you're camping on the edge of a
Yeah.
lake, you're going to have like, you're going to be the only people out there. So
Nice. So, and you've been photographing our national parks, our national lands for almost 20 years now. And it was about 10
wow.
years ago. It's actually our 10-year anniversary, Jake, that we interviewed Chris Nicholson from National Parks at Night, interviewed you on our National Parks at Night blog.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a really great time. National Parks at Night just formed like a year before that. The parks were rolling out this, half the park is after dark, just celebrating their centennial. And the initiative in night photography just seemed to be going through this crescendo, but the starting of it's being, you can do it. You can do it successfully. And it was finally a realized idea. So share with us how your night life has changed over these last 10 years since we last talked.
Yeah. Well, when you put it in, like, I've been doing it for 20 years, like, yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, wow, it almost is 20 years. I feel old, but it's been awesome 20 years. I mean, the last 10 years since we did that initial interview, When you guys talked to me, I wasn't yet married. I was living in a different
Wow.
place.
Okay.
I was in Columbia Falls, Montana. So further north. So like I kind of find that latitude is like right on the cusp of like it's like pretty decent aurora and pretty decent uh Milky Way stuff, because like you get too far north and then you kind of lose that core. But um yeah, the fact that I'm married and I have a dog and I have all like a full-time job, like 10 years ago I was moving around. Like that was kind of the end of my, I kind of refer to it as my like vagabond part of my life. I For 6 years, from like 2010 to 2016, I moved every 6 months. Like, I was in a new place. I was Alaska down to like I left Florida, went to Montana, then went to New Mexico, then went to Alaska, then went to Utah, then went to Colorado, then Wyoming, then Montana, then back to Wyoming. And I was like moving around all the time and living out of a car basically. Everything that I owned could fit in my little Mazda Protege, like it's like a little four-door sedan. And that thing like got me where I needed to go, and I did a lot of stuff, and I just could, I would work 6 months out of the year. Like, I'd have a contract like working with a national park, doing something somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And then in the off time, I could kind of do whatever it is that I wanted to do. So sometimes I would like go on road trips and hit a bunch of national parks. Like the longest road trip we did was like a month long, where we just went around and this was like 10 years ago. You could go to a national park and not need a reservation. You could just show up and get a campsite and stuff. And so how like everything is different. It just requires more planning. And I think, myself included, I kind of live and die by a schedule. I can't like live and die by my Aurora alert text that wakes me up at night and then I go outside with my camera anymore.
Right.
Like that, the dog will freak out and wake my wife up, and then
that's it.
And then trying to work the next day is tough. So things are different, but we still get out a lot. It's just, I would say it's the night stuff is probably, it's more planned. So which is for some stuff that works great. Like all these new apps and everything where you can plan like the astronomical alignment of all these things, like that's all great. But if you're an Aurora chaser, it's hard to plan that. Yeah.
Well, you're just chasing. You got to talk. Our Mary Beth Kaczynski, who's also speaking at Night Photo Summit. She's serious. So the littlest alert, she's like, boom, I'm out, and she's up in Michigan. So that area, so she can kind of get close. But it is funny, and how things have changed in the last 10 years. Parks just continually get more and more popular, and yes. Especially the bigger parks get bigger. I don't know when they're going to bust, but the smaller parks also just a general excitement and a desire for families and young people and old people to go to the park is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome that people are getting out. I think the only concern is with more people. If you're new to going and visiting and being outside, and you maybe don't like have a land ethic, like you don't know that you're not supposed to leave your food out because there's bears, or you don't know like certain things. But generally, if when people going to parks, I think is only a good thing. And there's millions and millions of acres that are not national parks. For people that want solitude, there's still those opportunities. And you have people like myself that like reminisce, like, oh, I used to be able to go to this park and blah blah blah. And it's like, yes, but just because now everybody knows about it. And so as long as everybody's respectful and they're happy to be there, and I think it's a good thing overall, because they're awesome. It's like Ken Burns said, they're our best idea. They're spectacular.
Indeed. And now, Jake, you definitely are seeming like a very outdoorsy guy. You're talking the right talk here. And what inspired that? Let's go from the beginning. What was the first? So did your parents take you out camping when you were young, or what inspired you to kind of take advantage of the great outdoors?
Yeah. So I was born in Montana, but I grew up in Florida, and it was, grew up in Florida in the 80s. And I remember where I lived, there used to be like woods. I mean, you could like go out the back door and shoot a BB gun and stuff. And now when I go home and see my mom, like everything's all built up. It's like there's just more people in general everywhere.
Yeah.
But one of the big things that we used to do is we had a lot of family friends, and every Thanksgiving we would always go the Peace River in Florida. We would
Okay.
all go there as a family. So there was like a group of 80 people, like all these different families, and everyone would bring a different dish, and we would have Thanksgiving outside, like while camping. And like just during the day, me and all my like, now that I'm still friends with, like kids that I've known since I was like 5 years old, we used to like run around and just fall out of trees and like get hurt and get
Yeah.
dirty. And that was just like I think that's kind of where I really enjoy just kind of being outside. But it wasn't until I started working in, a national park. Like we used to go to national parks growing up. Like every
Yep.
summer I would come to Montana and we would drive over the Beartooth Highway and go into Yellowstone. But I didn't know that like people worked in national parks. I just, it's just like, it's a place you went on vacation, you would like drive around or do whatever. Like I didn't know anything about it. And so when I graduated college, I got an internship in Grand Teton National Park. And that was what kind of exposed me to the idea that you can like live and work in national parks. Like, I mean, a lot of these big ones are cities. I mean, there's like,
Yeah.
there's
Like
all these
Jackson,
businesses
all
that are
around
on
that,
the
yeah.
on the outside. Yeah, it's like you like whether you're working for the government or whether you're working for a concessionaire, what like there's just so many jobs and things to do. And I think the thing that really like sunk in with me is like all these people are living where people want to go on vacation. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, I don't want to pay to go somewhere. I want someone to pay me to live there. Like, is like
Yes,
kind of the
yes,
idea.
yes.
Yeah.
'Cause,
So,
a lot of people don't realize that until like really later in life. You were very good at kind of
yeah. Well, and like, I think everybody, there's no, you ask every person, you know, like just random people I meet in life. They're like, in 1987, I worked at so and so national park. I was a line cook, or I worked as a bellhop at the Many Glacier Hotel, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah.
There's just all these different stories of people who kind of had some like mind blowing summer,
Mhm.
and and probably they're like, it would have been great if I could have figured that out like long term. And I think I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to make my dream summer, like I'm stretching my dream summer out as long as I can right now. So
And the Tetons, man, that's a great place to start. And we just came back there on the workshop, and I've seen them always from the distance, so this was my first time getting in there, and I didn't want to
yep.
get out. I didn't want to get out. It was that mountain range, the Tetons, every morning looked different. The way that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
broke the clouds and caused the cloud play with those, just that small range of like ancient rugged mountains is just one of, I think, the best views in the United States.
Yep. That was the first national park that I got to work like and live in.
Mhm.
And I remember like I wasn't super outdoorsy because I didn't really like I liked being outside, but I'd never hiked before.
Okay.
Like I'd like done walks. Like I remember in Florida, like hiking in Florida is dumb because it's just
Right.
wet and
It's just
hot.
too
There's like no
humid.
views.
It's
Yeah,
flat. It's not
yeah, it's like
interesting. You'll get
it's
eaten
not a
by an
thing.
alligator.
Yeah. So in the Tetons, I worked there in the wintertime, so I got into like snowshoeing around. But then, just every day, just like seeing whenever the mountain was out, just looking at it and being like, man, it would be so cool to be up there. And I remember one day there was a film crew that was like shooting up there. There was a guy, they were doing a winter ascent and they were going to ski down. And we were at Dornans, which is like this little inn holders, like a gas station kind of near the Moose Junction.
Mhm.
And we had a spotting scope and we were watching this guy ski down with a spotting scope. And I was like, man, one day I want to do that. And so in 2018, we were at a bar in Mountains Walking Brewery in Bozeman, and some friends were visiting, and we probably had too many beers, and we're like, man, let's climb that next summer. And so we did. In 2019, we made it to the top, and it was like, like a life goal fulfilled to be up on top of there. It was kind of like a nice full circle, but yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's like a super gorgeous area of the country.
Totally. Couldn't agree with you more. Want to go
Yeah.
back, want to live there. Got room on your couch. let me know.
Yeah. You need a lot of money to live there. Yep.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, Jackson has changed a lot,
Yeah.
right?
It's such a cool town too. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always fun to visit.
yeah. It's I don't know. I think it might be more expensive than Brooklyn. Um, what? Let's. And I would assume, what was your introduction to the night skies? Was it these similar adventures in the parks? And talk to us about kind of what made that sort of spark ignite.
So my earliest memory of the night sky, like a vivid memory, is I was in the Florida Keys as a kid. We were camping. Like we used to have like a slide-in camper to our truck. So we were down, I don't remember. I don't think it was like all the way to Key West, but we were like somewhere in the middle. And we were riding our bikes at night. We were coming back like just around the campground and we rode out to the water and it must have been a new moon or something because I remember turning off like the bike light and like looking up and I was like, oh my God, look how many stars there are. Like, cause I grew up in a city. So I didn't like, no one had explained to me that that was a thing that you could like, like it was like there was more light than there was dark basically from the stars. Like that's how dark it was. And I just remember that like standing, like we got off our bikes and we just stood there and like stared up at the sky. And, my parents growing up in Montana had always, when there's like the Perseid meteor shower, everybody in the town like goes out into the, there's a lot of big open fields and stuff. And so you can like throw a blanket down and watch them and stuff like that. So my parents like were like, oh yeah, this is a thing. Like, but I just didn't know as a little kid. But getting into night photography, it was weird. It was like I worked in Carlsbad Caverns, and so being there, like I learned night photography because it's dark. It's not really like the night sky, but just learning how to manipulate my camera and use a tripod and stuff. So when I went to Alaska, I went there the summer following the Teton or Carlsbad Caverns. And it never got dark, so I never needed that. But then one night, once it finally, like in the fall, once it started getting dark again, I remember going out to the restroom. Like we live in like a dry cabin, and I would go to the restroom outside, and there was like a glow on the horizon, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like I didn't think there was lights out here. And so I just kind of was staring at it. And then as my eyes adjusted, it started moving. And I was like, oh, that's Aurora. Oh man, like, wow, this is cool. And so I went and grabbed my camera and took a picture.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, that's what hooked me. It was like seeing Aurora in a northern latitude is the thing. Like it hooked me in the sense that I decided to stay in Alaska for the winter. I was planning on coming back to the lower 48. And I was like, I'm just going to stay up here and take pictures of Aurora if I can. Like, that's really what I want to do. So that's the thing that got me into it. And then when I eventually did move back to the lower 48, there was no Aurora. But then this was at a time when like the camera technology and thing were starting to emerge and like the gear and the lenses and everything, it like made it more like within reach for just your average, amateur person with a camera like myself. And so I, just a lot of trial and error. Like for the longest time, I didn't realize that like it mattered what time of night and what time of the year to get different things in the sky. I was just like, the stars are always there, which is like a silly thing to say. But that's like my background is I have like no formal training. I didn't know anything. And then I started reading like, oh, I should go to an astronomy program, like which I would go to in national parks and they would do star parties and and I like learned a whole bunch of stuff and I was like, oh, okay. Like, so just it was the idea of wanting to get out and create images and see cool things. And my family was back in Florida and I'm like traveling around like a vagabond everywhere. And so I wanted to, social media really wasn't a thing yet. So I really wanted to just take pictures and send emails and kind of provide proof of life, like I'm not dead, I'm still out doing stuff. So yeah, it's a whole nother thing that just kind of like blows your mind. There's like and then when you read more and you learn more, it just like it's like this never ending snowball that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then, like everybody else, you get the bug and then you just want to keep getting cooler photos. So
nice. And folks, those who are joining us here in the crowd, I've got a ton of questions for Jake. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I will definitely get to them. So, you spent a summer and a winter in Alaska. Did you stay on longer? Did you do another tour of Alaska? Because I mean,
Yeah.
right, that's how long,
Yep.
how much time have you put into Alaska and
Yeah, so I lived in Alaska from like April of 11 through October of 12. So it was like 18 months that I was up there. So 2 full summers and a winter.
nice.
And the springtime, like, like the equinox, the best month in Alaska is March. It's like
Okay.
spectacular. The days are really long. It still gets dark. The snow has like done the freeze thaw cycle, so it has like a really nice base, so you can get
Mhm.
out and like the sun, actually you can feel the warmth on it. So if you want to get out and ski and stuff, but pretty much everybody who lives in Alaska, I think I can speak generally, is that most people, March is like one of their favorite months.
Nice.
You get night skies because it gets dark at night still,
Good
but
balance. Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of like a nice like 50-50 there. And it's just, after things being so cold, I think the coldest I saw was like -48 when I was there, which is like, that's average. Like
Oh.
it gets way colder than that. It gets way colder than that. But yeah, Alaska holds a special place. That's where I met my wife. We named our dog after like a place that we lived. And so
Nice.
Alaska is the place that whenever we have the opportunity to go back there, which we have a few times, but it's a humongous state. I mean, it's like 1/3 the size of the continental US. So there's so
Yeah.
much up
Right.
there to see and do.
Gates of the Arctic. Have you been?
I had a trip planned there in 2020 where
Yeah.
I was a 3-week trip where we were gonna fly into the backcountry and float from the headwaters of the Charlie River out to the Yukon, and then float down the Yukon and get picked up and then fly out to Arrowgetch Peaks. And then right as we were getting ready to do it, COVID started locking everything down and that got canceled. And then we just never were able to put it back together. So still on the list.
Right. For those of you who don't know, right, Gates of the Arctic, that is the most remote one, right? That's the most difficult. You got to be pretty much airdropped, right?
It's way up there. Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much all the parks. Like there's like, places in Kotzebue and Nome and,
Yep.
they're all like, there's tons of public land in Alaska that is like super inaccessible.
Mhm.
Wrangell, I've spent some good time in Wrangell St. Elias. That's the largest national park in the US. It's like 6 times the size of Yellowstone. So it's like 13.2 million acres or something like that. We did a flight where we were flying out to the coast. There's like a part of the park where all like the Tidewater glaciers flow down, and we're on a plane for like an hour to get out there. And there was a giant sheet of ice, like just a big ice field that was almost completely flat. And every once in a while, you'd see these little mountain tops that were sticking out of it. And that like big flat piece of ice was bigger than Glacier National Park. It's like over 1 million acres of just flat ice. Like that, it's just like mind-boggling.
Send it to Glacier. It could use it.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure underneath it is like spectacular mountains that are just like, under snow, which is what Glacier National Park used to look like, 2 million years ago during the last big ice age and stuff. So it's really cool. Just like everything you learn in one park, you like go to another park and you see it in like a different stage, and how like, I don't know, the National Park Service does a really good job of telling all these stories and protecting the places and stuff, which is why like, we live near national parks, but we also love visiting national parks for that same reason. It's like, if you're in a big city, you can go to a national park and chances are it's going to have a dark sky. It's going to have like really, something about it is going to be beautiful both day and night. So we spend a lot of our time in public lands.
So then going back to the Florida boy in you,
Yep.
Dry Tortugas, you've been out to Dry Tortugas.
So when I found out that I was moving to Alaska, I was
Uh-huh.
in New Mexico. I had to go to Florida for a wedding, so I drove over to Florida, and you might notice a pattern here, but there was a night of drinking with my friends, and they're like, dude, you're in Florida. Why don't you, like, if you're going to drive to Alaska, why don't you just go to Key West and start from there? And I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And then I like started thinking, and I was like, there's a national park out there. I should go to Dry Tortugas. So I went down to Dry Tortugas and started my drive to Alaska from there. So it was like over 6,000 miles from like Key West all the way up to Fairbanks.
Right, the most southern point of the continental U.S. to the most northern point of the United States.
I didn't go all the way to Prudhoe Bay. I never had the time. Like, and the crazy thing is I drove that 6,000 miles. I had a friend that was with me, and I dropped her off at the airport, went to get an oil change, and my car broke down as I was pulling into the place to get my oil changed. Like I was like in all the places that it could have broken down, it like broke down. Like I was able to push
Yes.
my car into the place.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, my better angels were out there watching me. So that was, but
When you put
yeah,
out the good karma, it comes back.
yeah. So it's another thing to do is to go all the way up to the, like, you know, we went to the Arctic Circle, but I didn't go all the way to Prudhoe Bay, like the very top. So
All right. Is that accessible only for a little bit of time, I would assume, as well?
yeah, I mean, people in like if you want to do like real Alaska stuff, you got to be self-sufficient. There's no
Yeah.
like call somebody for help. Like you got to have like extra tires and extra gas.
Yep.
And you know, my Mazda Protege, I don't think was up to the task. Like once I was like driving, yeah. So you could certainly do it and luck out, but I think that the prudent thing would be like not to put yourself in a situation that if something did go wrong, you're like, you know, you're just gonna be out there and not without any help. So
all right, so we're talking about a few parks here. We got to ask, how many national park units have you been to?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
Okay.
I want to say it's definitely over 100, but it's less. Like I think there's like 430 something, or it's like it's over 430 in the entire, and that's like, you know, big national parks and small, like all the different
little ones, yeah, exactly,
like all the different sizes. But I think I've been to like about 25% of them, so I still have plenty to do. The list, and I'm not so much like a list checker, like that. I want to drive somewhere and like just to say that I've been there. Like a lot of the parks that we go to, we have like intentions to go and we want to stay for a while and kind of like see and do the things that are there. You know, we really love to hike and backpack, and not every park is like a hiking and a backpacking park. So a lot of times like we look to those parks first where we might go. But the idea is that, you know, go to a park and do whatever the fun thing there is to do there. And but yeah, there's so many. It's all these people that go to all of them. It's like they got a lot of time on their hands, and I'm super
yeah, they do have a lot of time.
So,
I mean, I use it as a guide. I just double checked 433 units, so you were right around. You were right there.
Yep.
But I like it in that I see your point. You know, you go to the ones you want to go to. But I just like whenever I'm somewhere, I like look at, okay, I'm going to be here for a few days. What other units are here? Because I just also love just learning more and learning the history of these places and the variety of the history of all these parks. You know, I might go for a big park, a medium park, a small park, but then throw that net around and see what else is in that area. And I'll usually often drive 2-3 hours, you know, from that base to just explore that unit. So
great minds. That's the same thing we do. It's like go to some big national park, and then usually there's like some cool historic sites around it, or between the airport and the park that you need to go to and stuff. So yeah,
and state parks, forests, you know, other BLM land, you know, all of it. You know, even though they don't count all that in the national park units, but they are, you know, preserved land. You know. Okay, which park that you haven't been to is high on the bucket list?
I mean, all the parks in Alaska are high on the bucket list. Because a lot of the thing, like I mentioned, we like to backpack, but we're kind of nearing the age where our knees and our like and our backs, like the ability to carry a 50-pound pack like over uneven ground for multiple days, like those days are numbered, and like we see ourselves like that horizon, like we're approaching it. Like we're gonna do it as long as we can, but because of that, like a lot of the parks in Alaska are trailless. So like when you fly into somewhere, if you're in like a backcountry runway, you land and then you just like walk on a river bar or you walk up that mountain, but there's no trails. So the Alaska parks, you know, seeing them, like, you know, whether it's Gates of the Arctic or going back to Wrangell or going out to Lake Clark or going to Katmai and backpacking in the Valley of the 10,000 Smokes, like there's all these cool places that we want to go to. But again, it's like you go to Alaska, it's like you're not like on the way anywhere. You got to go there, and just like the time to get around, and then it's like usually multiple planes and stuff. So just finding the time. Have you ever heard this saying that like there's three resources that you have, like time, money, and energy, and you
Yeah.
only ever have two of them depending on where you are in your life? And like right now we have energy and money, but no time.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
it's like, and later on in life, you got money and time, but no energy. And so we're kind of like
I
butting
like
up
that.
against,
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you have energy and time, but no money. You can't do like, you can't really like travel and stuff. So that's the whole idea of like, is trying to balance that. And so usually we plan like 2 weeks where we do some like cool trip. Like last year we went to Glacier National Park and we backpacked from the northeast corner of the park and the Belly River and went down across out Kintla Lake. So it was like 8 days and 60 miles
Very
across
cool.
the park.
Nice.
And that was awesome. And like sleeping out at, just like the night sky every night, you're sitting out in the lake and you watch the stars come up and stuff. It's so cool to just be out there and all the stuff that you see. And so, yeah, Alaska would be great to go back, but it's just like the time and the energy and the money and all that stuff to get up there. So I think that's probably the highest on the list, just because we see ourselves not being able to do it for too much longer. And then there's like a
Yes.
bunch of cool parks that you can do more like, road-based stuff, and, we'll see more of that. Or you're just flying, like sightseeing, just flying around in the plane, like that'd be cool too. But I think right now we want to get down in it like as
Yep.
much as we can. Yeah.
So says the boy who really wasn't interested in hiking at the beginning.
All it took was to climb my first mountain, and that again, like the night sky.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You can do this? I was like, oh man, I want to do this all the time.
Exactly. Forget the flatlands of Florida. I'm in. Give me some
Yeah.
mountains. Give me some elevation. All right. Congratulations are in order. You just published. Is this your first book? Right.
This is my first book. Yeah.
First book, Parklands, which just hit the shelves in August of 2025.
Just so happen to have a copy right here.
Whoa! Look at that! Look at that, folks. That is like, let's see the thickness, because that's worthy of a coffee table, right? That's perfect. Perfect for a coffee table.
It's a coffee table book. When I say I'm an author, I kind of feel like I'm cheating a little bit. There are words in the book. It's like stories, and it kind of sets it's about all of our parks and park lands and just public lands in general, and why they're spectacular. And because we've seen so many of them, and I wouldn't call myself like a specialist photographer, like in any, like I wouldn't call myself a wildlife photographer or a night sky photographer. I just want to take pictures of things, like whatever it is, like big or small or whatever. And so when we were kind of pitching this idea, my publisher, they were like, how might you organize the book? And we decided to kind of just do it not by how, like where they're located or it's more by resources. So the book is broken up into the geology, just of like the earth and how it formed, and like where it, like these beautiful landscapes, and then the water and the glaciers and everything that helped shape that geology. And then the water brings in the plants. The plants bring in the animals, and then after that, it's like the night sky, and then it's all the cultural and the history and everything, with everything combined. So there's a whole dedicated section about dark skies in there, and like why they're important and what they do and everything. Yeah. So, like again, when I started doing this, like I started taking pictures because my mom, like, she gave me her old camera when I moved to the Tetons, and she's like, "Hey, take this with you and take pictures. Like, it's like, send pictures my way and let me know what's going on." And like I used to give tours to people. I was kind of like a tour guide of sorts, and I would get all these questions, and they're like, "What's this tree?" or "What's this bird?" I'm like, "I have no idea," but I had a camera, so I would take a picture, and I would go back and I would look it up, and then I would email them afterwards and say, "Hey, I figured out what it was." I would look it up in a book or whatever. And so my camera was like a utilitarian thing, and it morphed into what it is today after all this. But this book is kind of that transformative part of my life, when I got my first camera to when I kind of decided that I wanted to do this as a career. And this book is essentially the portfolio of me during that time of my life, all the places that I lived and all the things that I saw and did, and people I hung out with. And so it's like it's a book I wrote for myself, to be honest. I was like, I would really love to have a book like this for me, so that like when I'm old and I can't do this anymore, I can look back and kind of remember all this stuff. And there's all these pictures I was with all these different people, and so they're, hopefully, even if you weren't there with me, you can read it and kind of like know, like you feel the way that the captions are written and stuff is like this is what we were doing, and kind of feel like you're a part of the book.
How has the book been doing? Has it been well received? And
I
you
mean,
know,
I suppose I don't know. This is my first book, so I don't know
yeah,
what
yeah,
to
yeah.
compare it
Okay.
to. So, but people who read it have been like, "Oh man, this is awesome!" Like all my friends who like, I don't think people knew what to expect, and when they got it,
Mhm.
they're like, "Wow, this is like a real book! Like, good job." I was like, "They're like, there's words in it," and I said, "Oh yeah, yeah." So
Awesome. And where can people? Because I know you got a lot of national park lovers here in our
yeah.
wonderful little space right here. Where can be? What's the best place for people to get your book?
So yeah, I mean, you can like it's on Amazon, it's in like all major bookstores, like you can order it online and things like that. But if they wanted to order a signed copy, that's another thing that they can do. Like on my
Yeah.
website, you can go there too. So it's like jwfrank.com is my
Mhm.
website. And if you go there, you can navigate to where to get the book and stuff. But yeah, wherever anybody wants to get it from, it doesn't matter from my perspective. It's just the only difference is if you would want a signed copy just to reach out to me, and I'm happy to kind of like facilitate that for people.
I'll be reaching out to you after this talk for that signed copy. Thank you so much.
Oh, awesome.
All right. So this is the new part of the night talk, and I'm excited to test it out with you. We're talking about the quick fire favorite things section, and
All
I'll
right.
be asking you some what your favorite things are, and I want you to answer me as quickly as possible the first thing that pops into your head. Okay.
Okay. I'll do my best. I usually have follow-up questions like to get the right because but I'll
We'll
participate. We'll
follow
see
up
what it,
later.
yeah.
Let's.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right. Ready? Here we go.
Yep.
Favorite park.
Denali.
Okay. Favorite small park.
Dinosaur.
Okay. Good. Favorite non-NPS public land.
Probably Custer Gallatin National
Oh,
Forest, just because
that's
because we live in the area and I've seen a lot of really cool stuff here. We've been here for 10 years now. So yeah.
nice backyard.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting outside your backyard. Favorite place outside the United States.
Italy's got like some really good food. We've had great times there. So and they have like spectacular everything else too. They have the Dolomites and
You got to get up to the Dolomites.
yeah,
You seem like you're Dolomite worthy.
and the history and everything. Yeah, it's a really cool place, and we've had some really great time there.
All right, so moving away from the land, let's talk about some wildlife. Favorite bird?
Oh, favorite bird,
You
probably
photographed them.
a lazuli bunting.
Whoa, what is that?
So it's just like it's like a small. It kind of people might mistake it for a bluebird.
Okay,
It's a blue bird that has like black bands on its wings, but it's
okay,
just got like a really pretty song, and they're small, and they're hard. It's just like when they get here, it's like officially spring. So it's
okay.
just like a nice thing that's like, hey, there's spring and the lazuli buntings are back. And it's just like a cool name, like lazuli bunting. That's a cool name.
That is a very cool name. Now,
Yeah,
besides your dog, right? Your dog, you have a dog, correct?
we
Right.
do. Yeah.
So besides your dog, what's your favorite animal?
Probably I think it's a toss up between a pika and a bison. So
Ooh,
I think the
nice.
pikas are just like really cute and they're fastidious. They're just like working all the time and getting stuff done and they're iconic. And a bison is for the same reason, but just it's bigger and they're like the more you learn about bison, they're just like awesome animals and the fact that they're a national mammal and it's like hard not
Yeah.
to get romantic about bison.
Where do you find a pika?
Pretty much like I think the southernmost population of pika is in Bandelier National Monument in northern New
Okay,
Mexico, but pretty
okay,
much like anywhere in the Rocky Mountains north of there, all the way up into Alaska.
all right,
And they're
all
like,
right.
and there's different species along the way, but they're like high mountain. They're like little rabbits. They're like rock rabbits, and they're active year round, and they are like hopping around in the rocks and stuff, and they make a really cute sound, and they're just like super adorable. So
Look at you. You're such a cutie.
yes,
Softy.
yeah.
All right. Speaking of mountains, favorite mountain.
Denali.
Okay. Favorite lake.
Probably Lake McDonald in Glacier. I just
Glacier?
had like I've had like a lot of really good just people hangs out there,
Yeah.
swimming and boating and all this stuff. It's just like a great lake. Yeah.
It's a pretty phenomenal view and great stars,
Yeah.
reflections and stuff like that there for sure.
Right.
Favorite river?
The Toklat River
Where's
in,
that?
in Denali. That's what our dog.
Okay.
That's who our dog is named after.
Aw.
He's like a little white. He's like all white, fluffy. He's like he's an American Eskimo, but it's like or an Esky, people call him for short. But
Mhm.
Toklat in the native language, like the native Indian language in the area, Toklat means cloudy white. And
Okay.
we used to live near there. And so it's just like all these things that came together. It was like the stars aligned. And
Awesome.
that pun is I didn't plan that, but that it's
That's
good,
it. Yeah, that's it. Very well played. Very well played.
yes, yeah.
Couple more questions here.
Okay.
Favorite trail?
I think favorite trail. So I like hiking off trail, but if I'm on a trail, there's the Boulder Pass Trail in Glacier National Park.
Okay.
You go from Boulder Pass. There's a section that you go from Boulder Pass over to Brown Pass.
Mhm.
It's like high in the mountains. It's like a backcountry version of the Highline Trail. So the Highline Trail is also spectacular, but there's a lot of people because there's a parking lot right next to it.
Gotcha.
But if you happen to find yourself in the heart of Glacier, like up near Canada, there's this section of trail that is like, it's just like mind blowing. And in the campground, the Boulder Pass campground, there is a toilet that has no side thing. So you're just sitting on a toilet and you're staring at mountains in a glacier. And it is like the most scenic toilet. There's probably other really, really scenic ones, but this is the best one I've ever seen. So if you find yourself back there, it's spectacular.
A loo with a view.
Yes, we call it Puforia.
Puforia. Nice, nice. Okay, campground. Favorite campground?
Campground. Oh man.
And if you want to go wilderness, you could say region of wilderness camping too.
I think so the Boulderfield campground in Rocky Mountain National Park in the backcountry, that's like I think that's the highest campground in the National Park Service, and I spent my 30th birthday there.
Nice.
We backpacked 30 beers up there and hung out, and that was pretty fun.
And what amazing ideas did you come up with at that point?
Well, the plan was to summit Long's Peak, but when we woke up and it had snowed overnight, we're like, maybe I want to live till I'm 31. So we just sat there at 6 a.m. and just like, there was a big group of us. There was like 6 or 7. And so we just sat there and drank all the beers and watched the sunrise, like the alpenglow on the mountain, like right in front of us. And then we hiked back down to the car. So that was cool.
Right on. Beautiful. Favorite season?
Not mud season. I think any season other than mud season. Yeah, because it's like you can recreate in all the other ones, but in mud season, it's just like it's the worst.
It's not fun. Favorite ice cream?
You know, I don't know if this is going to sound plain, but I think vanilla is my favorite.
Vanilla.
Yeah. If I want to go crazy, there's a Red Button Creamery that like I think it's in like Utah, but I think they deliver up to this region. They make a flavor called birthday cake that is really good. Yeah.
All right.
So
all right.
if I'm feeling frisky, that's what I go for. But like just vanilla ice cream with like, you know, maybe an Oreo or two on the side. I think that's my go-to.
I mean, I think vanilla complements other things, but on its own, you know,
a scoop of vanilla with like on like a hot cobbler is
yes,
yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite breakfast?
Okay. Homemade sourdough bread, fresh out of the oven.
Okay.
With farm fresh over medium eggs, like just like the gooiness, and then like the cutting the bread, and then like too much butter on top of that, and then like some salt. It's just that I could eat that like every day. But I'm a huge breakfast guy. I love breakfast foods. I'm more of a savory than a sweet guy, so I'm not into.
I like where you're going. I'll join you
for
breakfast. I'll join you with a little a la mode, but I'm definitely sitting down to breakfast with you.
Yeah.
All right. I think I might know the answer to this one. Favorite dark sky location?
I think I think the best dark sky experience that I've ever had was in Natural Bridges National Monument, like in
Okay.
Southeast Utah.
Hmm.
Every I think like in Arches National Park, you have all these
Yep.
cool foregrounds to play with. Natural Bridges, you have like, you have the bridges to kind of play with that a little bit too. But I remember going there on a new moon after a rain, and it was like so dark that we were sitting there. I was sitting on the ground, like I was taking a multiple exposure, and I looked down and I lifted my hand up and I could see the shadow of my hand on the rock beneath from the stars. Like that's how dark it was. I was
Yeah.
like, Corey, look at this. And she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it's a really dark spot. It's really,
I think
really beautiful.
it's Gold Tier, Dark Sky.
I think so.
Beautiful
Yeah.
place. Beautiful place. Yeah, very special, quite unique. And then that you can climb down and be underneath them, and everything is, yeah, amazing. All right. Wait. One last quick fire question. Favorite wildlife experience?
There's been a bunch. I've had cool experiences with bears. I've seen Wolverine before. But I think the best one. So I mentioned earlier when I first saw the aurora, like I lived in a cabin that there was no bathroom, so I had to walk to the bathroom. But sometimes I didn't want to walk to the bathroom. So when the mosquitoes went away, I was able to take the screen off of my bedroom, and if I had to, in emergency, this might be too much info, but I would pee out the window and it would land on the ground. Well, it created a salt lick where critters would come and dig. And then eventually we found out that a lynx moved into the area and it would hunt the animals that would come to like lick the salt. So one day I'm editing photos and I'm listening to music, and my next door neighbor like bangs on my door. Like and I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, is my music too loud? And he's like, no, come out here. There's a lynx like under your porch and it's hunting ground squirrels. Like, come out here. So we went out on my porch and we just sat there, and the lynx was like 10 yards away maybe, and it attacked and ate two ground squirrels in front of us. And then right when it was done, it walked like through the trees and walked right at me. And it was like one of my favorite wildlife photos that I've ever taken. It's like a lynx that's staring directly at me and it's like licking its chops, like just as it just ate two ground squirrels. That was really, really cool.
I would assume that picture is in the book.
That picture is in the book. Yep.
Well, speaking and folks, we're talking to also the author, the photographer, the public land lover here, but he's also a speaker at our upcoming Night Photo Summit. And his talk is called A Journey Through Night Photography on America's Public Lands. Jake, what can people expect to learn in your session?
Well, I think number one is that anybody could do it. I mean, if it's something that you're interested in wanting to get out and explore national parks in the night sky, it's the national parks are a great place to get into night photography. My whole progression of, how I got into photography, I talk a little bit about where I started and how I got into it, and what every time I learned some new technique or I learned something that I needed a new piece of equipment or whatever it was, just that kind of natural progression until I started feeling comfortable to the point where I started planning my shots. I was like, oh, I'm getting this enough that I can go out and start to plan some of these things. So I think if nothing else, it's just like kind of a slideshow of almost like every dark sky that I've seen from Alaska down to Florida and pretty much everything in between, all like kind of in the West and even out in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of my love letter to the national parks and the night sky, and hopefully some inspiration for people to get out there and create their own art and, get away from the screen and go out and make your own stuff is kind of what I'm hoping that people will walk away with.
Definitely. We're looking forward to lots of inspiration, and thank you again for joining us at this year's Night Photo Summit for sure.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot, but we haven't looked at your images. So let's dive in here. I think, and we're going to see some national parks here, but why don't you tell us the story behind these shots? Okay, you ready?
All right.
All right,
Yeah, and
here we go.
they come in pairs. So the first one's kind of the setup, and then the second one is kind of more of the shot. So yeah, what are we
All
working
right,
with that first
let's
one?
go. Let's go. We've talked about auroras. Let's go. Boom.
Yeah, so this is up in Alaska, and this is my first time learning how to cross country ski, and my wife's like, "Hey, we should ski to a backcountry cabin." And one of the things, a tip that I learned, if you want to take Aurora, if like when you don't have cell service, is to drink like a gallon of water before you go to bed. And then and then you have to get up and pee. So you just get up and you're like, are the lights out? And you're like, if they're not, then you go back in. But that was like my tactic. Anytime there might be lights, or if I was in
Yep.
a backcountry spot, I would just I would drink as much water as I could. I would go to bed, and then I'd wake up like 3 or 4 hours later. And so this was the first one, kind of going before bed. I was like, all right, yeah, there's a little bit of a glow. It might come out, but I did my tactic. And then if you show the next slide, I came out a little
Boom.
bit later, and this is one of my
Whoa.
favorite Aurora shots that I got. This one was actually this was presented in the Smithsonian in 2016 as part of the Centennial one in Denali
Okay.
National
Yep.
Park.
Yep. Yep.
But this was just like one of those ones where I like everyone was sleeping in the cabin, and I like went in. I was like, "Hey, everybody, get up! Like, come out here and look at
You
this! Like, this
gotta.
is super cool."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
In fact, this is we got Capricorn Girl. Wowza. Right.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah. And this was, and I don't remember. Like, I want to say that this was like an f4 lens. Like, I didn't have big fancy equipment. Maybe I had a full frame camera at that time,
Yep.
but like, I didn't really know how to shoot Aurora. I hadn't developed and Aurora is a little different because depending on the intensity of it and whatnot. So like my portfolio is full of a bunch of shots that never see the light of day because I just through trial and error, but this is one that came out really good. I think this is like one of the first shots that I ever took where I was like, oh yeah, like I nailed that one. Like that one was pretty good. I was excited to show people.
Great movement, like great movement coming all around and just filling it all up, and the trees look great, as
Yeah.
well. So, all right, let's move to the next diptych here.
Yeah. So the next one is I had the chance, like in Alaska, it's not uncommon for a lot of people in the middle of winter to just take a plane down to Hawaii for a little bit just to thaw out. Yeah. And so my first time going down to Hawaii, we went to Hawaii Volcanoes. We spent 6 weeks in Hawaii, and we went camping, and we got to see the Kilauea crater under the night sky.
Mhm.
And again, I didn't really know much about this. Is at a time when I was just getting into it. It was like Aurora. I had not yet learned about the Milky Way and everything. And so when I found out about it, I was doing some research when my cousin was going to get married like 3 years down the road. I found out I was going back to Hawaii, and I was like, oh, I'm going in June. The core of the Milky Way might be up. I wonder if I can get a shot because I think I was south facing. Like, I wonder if I could line that up. So I had this whole thing in my eye, and I told my mom about the shot. And so if you go to the next one, we went down in the summertime and was able to go back out. And I remember like walking from the parking lot and seeing that the Milky Way was like, this was kind of the first shot that I ever really like planned that a lot of times you just go out and you're like, oh, there's the Milky Way. All right, now what can I do in the foreground? This was one where I kind of planned, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I planned this from like across the country. And it's not that unbelievable like when you understand the stars. But for someone who was just like brand new to it, it was like kind of one of those like, oh, big aha moments. It was really, really cool to see. This is a life-changing thing to see, like to see lava and to see the earth glowing.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I don't know, it's like a caveman, primordial ooze. Like it's just like the earth being born in front of you. It's just like it's a like heavenly experience, I guess is a way to say it.
Well, Hades is right there. That's the entrance, I believe. Yep. And we just actually had Jenny Mack, who's tuning in from Hawaii, come on over here too. So good timing on it for the Hawaii. Let's move down to the continental U.S. here with this one.
So yeah, this was my second time going to Capitol Reef. The first time was in a road trip. I just happened to be going through it, and funny enough, when I got to Capitol Reef, my camera died. And this was the park that I made the switch from crop sensor to full frame. I was like, if I'm going to buy a new camera, I might as well buy a full frame. And so I bought, it was brand new at the time, the Canon 5D Mark II. and I had to stay in the park for a few days because Canon was willing to ship the camera to like the visitor center because we were just staying in the campground, and I
Yeah.
talked to them and they were willing to do that. So I knew about the park and that it was beautiful and I really wanted to go back. And so a few years later, when I had moved to the area and I was living in Monticello, Utah, I was like, hey, I'm going to go to the park. I planned the shot. I was like, this is a really famous feature during the day, Chimney Rock. And I was like, I'm going to get the silhouette and it's going to be great. So I hiked out and I get the shot. And then I'm like trying to reposition for another shot. And then, but it's like right next to the highway. And so as cars are driving, you get like kind of light and it's messing things up. And so I'm getting frustrated. So I set this shot up and this car comes and I'm about to like cancel the shot because the car's, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just leave it. And then when it was done and exposed, it was this shot. And I was like, well, that worked out pretty good. Like,
yeah,
I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, let's not cancel that shot. Let's get let's get that person to come back a couple more times.
Yeah, and for a sense of scale, like that's like I want to say it's like 600 or 700 feet tall. Like it's not like a small thing. It's like a really big cliff. And so the fact that the car was like a mile away with its headlights and like it kind of crests over a hill, so it shines like high up on the cliffs and everything. So, and the amount of time, because there are other shots where it was like underexposed and overexposed. It's just like, again, the stars aligned. It came by to do this, and I just was like, wow, that's awesome. So it's a fun story to tell.
I've got to share my story shooting Chimney Rock. I've shot it a few times, but the last time I was there, we're on a workshop. It was last night. We were there for the Ring of Fire eclipse. Okay. And we got that. That was great. Beautiful weather. The park wasn't inundated. But on the last night of the workshop, we come back to Chimney Rock and we're really close up against the cliff wall, right? Because we're trying to get that alignment of that Milky Way then right up against the chimney. We just wrapped up and we're kind of moving a little further away, but I was staying back with a couple people, and all of a sudden we witnessed erosion firsthand. You see those rocks that you've got down there? There's some new, and I was like, I heard it and I see what's going on. I'm like, run. And we're like running. And like seriously, rocks are coming along the side of us.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We were up on a mound and we stayed on that mound, and then we were totally dusted in, right? We were totally dusted in for a good 30, 40 minutes. I mean, everyone was like 50 yards, 100 yards away. And they're like, Gabe, you guys all right? Right? Like, yes, we're all right. You're like, oh my God, it's happening. Yeah. We lived.
That's crazy.
Erosion is insane, right?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, in a lot of these parks like Zion and Arches, they've had like arches just collapse. I think the last one was in like 2008 or something. So yeah, geology takes a long time, but sometimes it goes quicker than others. So
I don't want to be there when an arch collapses. That's like when an angel dies or something like that, right? All right. Speaking of other things to witness, here's another wonderful shot.
Yeah, and this, I mean, anybody who has seen the eclipse, like everyone's got these photos, but I just like, this is one of the things, if I'm trying to inspire people to get out, like I was, we were chatting before we went live, Gabe, that somebody I once, this was in Arco, Idaho. So in 2017, and before I was, I'd seen lots of partial eclipses or lunar eclipses, but never like a total solar eclipse. So I was kind of like, like we should go see it. Like it'll be cool, but I didn't really like know what to expect. And then someone beforehand said like, seeing a partial eclipse is kind of like, getting a peck on the cheek, and seeing a total eclipse is like the equivalent of like a night of passionate lovemaking. And I was like, oh God, like, gag me with a spoon. And when I saw it, I cannot stress enough, like how cool of an experience it is to see that. And like the temperature drop and the birds, that all the nocturnal wildlife that comes out. It's just like the night comes out temporarily because it's confused. It thinks that it's night. And so the bats are flying around and the nighthawks and you can see a sunset in 360 all the way around you. I mean, it's just like such a cool thing. So this was like during the path when we were in totality. And then the next shot is kind of when it comes out. And this is one of those things like, as it's eclipsing back into view, where it, just it's just a really cool thing. I can't stress enough
Yes.
that if you have the opportunity to do it, yeah, definitely do it.
100%, 100%. In the United States, so many of us got to witness this 2017, 2024. It's going to be a while before you get back in the US.
Yep.
But you have to see it. It is something to definitely feel the world stop and go quiet and everything. And then we've got this just a few moments later, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's only lasts like, if you're in like the center line, it lasts like 2.5 minutes or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's not very long, but it's some awesome 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
Right on. Excellent. Yes, definitely get yourself out there, folks. Get yourself out there at the night during eclipses, wherever you might, just to see. There's so many wonders. You gotta seize them. You gotta seize them. Let's. We're kind of running a little over, so let's kind of, folks, if you have any last minute questions, put it in the chat there. Marge, yes, we're all there together. It's crazy that we all experience that together. My closing sort of question that I want to ask you is going to be what's next for Jake? What other projects are kind of permeating or what's on the docket?
I don't know that I have any like big, projects per se. I think the project every summer is to just get out and see as much as I can. And while I can, you never know when you're not going to be able, like, just things can change. And so I think whenever you have the opportunity, so we live in a cool place and we always try to get out. So I think this summer we're hoping to get some we're looking at, the Wind River Range down in Wyoming and getting down there. I think we're gonna go to Teddy Roosevelt for the first time, that national park.
That's a great park. Yep.
Yeah, get up there. We have our in-laws are going to be in the area, so we're going to try to meet them up there. I think eventually we're probably going to go to Europe. I got a buddy who's going on sabbatical and he's moving his family to Paris for a year. And so we'll probably try to go and visit him there. And while we're there, visit some national parks in France and get up into the mountains. So yeah, just getting out and seeing all the public lands everywhere we go, like different countries, all that stuff is just, and then, who knows, maybe there's a book down the road in that again, but right now there's no big projects on the horizon.
Well, listen, like you said also earlier, like taking advantage of the time right now, right? That time, the knees,
Yeah.
the balance of the energy, time, and money, right? That's what it was.
Yep.
Nice. I love it. We do have a question from Jenny Mack, our Hawaiian friend. She's out in Oahu. What month did you get the Milky Way lava shot at Hawaii volcanoes?
That was in
April or
June.
May. Oh, okay, June.
It's
Nice.
June, yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, my cousin got married. He got married like June 13th or something. So I forget if it was before or after that, but he got married on Oahu, and then we went over to Big Island after that because we wanted to go backpacking and then go get that shot.
Yes. Nice. And then this is Anthony also commenting on the eclipse. We got a couple people saying, yes, you've got to see it. You got to experience it. And yes, Anthony, right there. Best thing. So many of us have seen. And there we go, Marge. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think you were there the whole time. Really appreciate you sitting in and listening in with us. And okay, and he's coming to New Mexico in May. Right on.
Nice.
All right, so folks, I think that is going to be wrapping it up. A few final words. You can learn more about Jake on his Instagram at Jacob W. Frank, and I believe that's your website as well. Just throw a .com.
JW Frank.
JW Frank is the website. And buy his book. Order it direct and have him sign it. I'll be doing it right now. Let's flood his email right now after this night talk. He's got a whole room that's got stacks full of books. Let's get him out of Montana. Let's get him out into the world here. So, Jake, what a great conversation. Really, it really was a pleasure getting to know you. I've admired you and your work for a while now, and I really, that you've seized the opportunity to, be in our national lands, and really it is an amazing thing. I know a lot of people dream it, but you're doing it and living the dream. So it's good to thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you for having me in and helping to just, yeah, I'm all about promoting public lands and getting people out there. It's they're awesome for all sorts of reasons, including the night sky. There's just, if you're really looking to get into it, it's like that's a great place to, like, every dark sky in the United States is probably public land. It's hard to get in a city and find a dark sky.
Yeah, exactly. And for a reminder, folks, if you came in late, remember you can rewatch this. This is an over an hour conversation, really awesome conversation. You can rewatch this either on Instagram, or if you prefer the wider format and looking and perhaps watching us on the big screen, you can also, it's being streamed and it's going to be wrapped up on our YouTube channel momentarily. But on Instagram, give us about 5-10 minutes. We're going to wrap it up and then officially publish it there. And then we've got one more awesome free event happening tomorrow. And that's tomorrow, Wednesday, January 28th at 8 p.m. East Coast Standard Time. And this is going to be via Zoom, folks. So this is not going to be on Instagram or YouTube. You got to go to Night Photo Summit and you got to register for this free event. And it's called How We Got the Shot. This is our annual pre-summit event where we're going to have 5 of the Night Photo Summit speakers. Each one of them is going to share one of their favorite shots and the stories behind it. So, and it gives you a real good taste. If you haven't got your ticket for Night Photo Summit, it'll give you a really great taste on how to interact, because we say this is virtual. It is virtual, but there's a lot of interactions. There's a lot of parties, and there's actually a lot of networking. We've got networking planets that people go over to, and you can meet the speakers after, meet the sponsors and stuff like that. So it's an amazing event. Hope to see, I know a lot of you are familiar faces. We're going to see you there, but if you're on the fence, we hope to see you at least over at tomorrow's free event, and hopefully February 13th to the 15th as well. So that's my final plug. Thank you all so much. Warm up, and whether you're hibernating, now's the time to kind of work on those images. Maybe you've taken throughout the year, and the winter nights do offer good opportunities. Bundle up and seize them. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you again, Jake.
Thank you. It's good chatting with you, Gabe. Thanks, everybody.
All right.